Class is in session. All right, so for guests and visitors, my name is Steve Payerle, Club President, and I'd like to welcome you all to the first meeting of the 47th year of the Dublin-Worthington Rotary Club, right, John?
That's right.
That's right. Today's invocation and Pledge of Allegiance will be offered by the one and only Tim Moats.
Thanks, Steve. Would you all bow your heads in prayer with me? Lord, we thank you for all the many blessings that you give each of us, for safety, guidance, protection, health. We thank you for the birth of our country and the freedoms that we enjoy. Thank you for all of the many gifts and talents that you have given each of us that allow us to come together as a club to serve others. For all of this and many other things, we are very thankful. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, 1 second here.
Really orange here.
All right, go ahead, Tim.
Hey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
to the
to the
republic
republic
for
which stands
one
one nation under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Not bad. So our program today will be me talking about my thoughts and vision for the future of our club, and will be followed by Ro, who will provide a presentation on the present state of the travel industry and maybe some considerations for members planning future trips. Our sergeant today is also me. So I guess first let's introduce guests. We have Sam Fairchild. Sam, if you wave to everybody. Sam is a current member of the Reynoldsburg Club.
Reynoldsburg Pickerington Joint Club.
Gotcha. And he may be transferring to our club, so we're happy to have you today, Sam. Not seeing any other guests, so does anybody have any happy dollars? Sam, speak up loud.
Happy dollars. Well, for happy dollars, I'm very thankful.
Can't hear him.
Yeah, we lost you there, Sam. We lost your audio. You're
Are you-
muted.
Added. You're muted, Sam.
Fantastic. Sorry, guys.
Unmute. Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
because the people in the room are having a hard time hearing the Zoom people, and the people on Zoom are having a hard time in the room. We're going to split them up. So for right now, let's just do people in the room. And if you have a happy dollar, come on up. Anybody else? Pete's making his way up here. I think IT's coming to fix our speaker issue.
I've got two happy dollars, and the two happy dollars tomorrow in the early mornings, Dr. Lombardi of the New Albany Surgery Center, joint implant surgeons, will be operating on Judy's left knee and replacing it.
Oh,
Having
Wow.
mine done
Wow.
in 2011 and my other one done in 2018 by the same doctor. She's very confident, and I am too, that all things will be good. But think about Judy tomorrow morning. Thank you.
wow.
Anybody else in the room with a happy dollar? Okay. Anybody on Zoom with a happy dollar? Sam Fairchild, I think you had one. If you want to go again.
Well, my happy dollar is sort of like a perpetual one here. Being near the OSU airport, I get to see my favorite life flight helicopter. It's the green and white one, come and go a bit. I was a happy recipient of a flight from that helicopter 5 years ago. But that's a longer story.
We'll hear that one in the future, I'm sure. Don, did you have a happy dollar?
Yes, I have two of them. A couple weeks ago, I was able to go to New Jersey to attend a graduation ceremony, or not ceremony, but the celebration for my nephew Connor, and also to attend my stepmother's 80th birthday party. So here's two happy dollars for that.
Fantastic.
I'm happy that Steve has retained his composure and is happy in spite of all the crises that are happening around him. He's such a cool cucumber.
There's no other
Amen.
choice. Alan, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Mine's not a happy dollar, but I'll put a dollar in and ask that you all keep Heather and her 80 colleagues from FEMA that are working on the pile in Miami in your thoughts and prayers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
There's somewhere over 450 people working down there.
Wow.
Amazing.
When did Heather go there?
She's been there since they left last Wednesday,
Wow.
and their return is undetermined.
Is that part of the guard or something?
She's a member of Ohio Task Force 1, and they work 12-hour shifts, so she works from noon to midnight every day.
Wow.
Her human remains dog actually was hurt on Thursday night and is out of service, so she's working with somebody else as a support person. So they stand by and they go up on the pile when there's someplace that the other workers want searched, and they've had numerous finds throughout the last several days.
Well, she'll have a good program for us on that topic.
God willing, Heather will be back, and we'll be presenting to you all on the 21st. And if not, then you'll be just stuck with me with my dogs.
All right.
Thanks.
Anybody have a happy dollar to leave us on a positive note? Connie, help me out here. No. Katie does. All right.
Since I don't have dollars on me, and her bad $5 on my bill. My happy dollar is all the money that I have started to raise for the band. I appreciate all of you guys who have donated. And if anyone is looking to be part of the program, program ad for the Worthington Kilbourne and the Thomas Worthington sports, let me know. I got program ads I'm selling, and I am benefiting the Worthington Kilbourne band, marching band. So thank you.
Perfect. So I guess now we go to announcements. So I will start with any announcements on Zoom while anybody in the room who has an announcement starts making their way up here. So does anybody on Zoom have an announcement to make? Take that as a no. Anybody in the room have an announcement to make? Wow.
I'll make an announcement. It's not quite an announcement, but.
All right, Katie's coming back.
I think we had a very successful, we had a very successful rah-rah last week. I thought it was really good. We're looking to do another. I need to talk to Andrew. We're looking to maybe do a brewery out in Dublin. We'll see. And then we also will have something with the district in October, a picnic, right?
Yes.
So it was well attended. Thank you all who did attend. And too bad trivia didn't work. Darn, right? So, but we had fun anyways.
Fantastic. with no other announcements, I guess we'll just get right into our program. So here we go. This is the preview of 2021 to 2022, I suppose. And so I was hoping my message would be on the briefer side, but after I wrote it, I realized that that is not the case. Sorry for you all. Our club has been fractured in every sense of the word that I can think of, politically, physically, even digitally, for an example. We're very lucky to be out of the election cycle, heading quickly out of the pandemic, and able to come back together physically. And over the last year, I believe many of us have learned a lot of new tricks about how to stay connected with each other using technology. And so the way I see it, we're in a perfect position to have one of the greatest Rotary years in recent memory. And because of where we all find ourselves in the world today, I believe that we are entering into not only a new chapter for our club, but I view it as a new volume altogether. Of course, we'll continue writing the story of the Dublin-Worthington Rotary Club, maintaining many of our traditions, but it's also time we use this opportunity to grow and evolve our club and embrace new and exciting ideas and take some more calculated risks. As I think many of you would agree, there's much work to do to empower our committees and get people excited about their committee projects and get us back to why many of us joined Rotary to begin with, to do service work, as well as be in the company and fellowship of like-minded people. To do so, I believe we need to get back to basics, back to service. We'll need to assess things that we used to do and see if they're still worth doing. Is there too much red tape, for example? Is the juice worth the squeeze? Perhaps that means putting some committees on hiatus, or perhaps that means forming new committees, ones that our members are passionate about and can't wait to get involved with. One idea I recently had was, which is not a new idea, as I believe John Butterfield was pivotal in trying to get it started before the pandemic, was that of a vocational, business-oriented, entrepreneurial group that all this wisdom that is locked in the minds of so many of our Rotarians could be shared with people like myself and others who want to gain that mentorship, that ability to bounce ideas off of experienced, unbiased people who've lived it. To me, a group like that would be invaluable. Where else can you get something that powerful? Perhaps it should be at the Dublin-Worthington Rotary Club. Perhaps that would attract younger members and provide them with a seriously valuable incentive to be in our club. Maybe, maybe not. But it's high-level topics like that that are on my mind. And while my role is not to be a dictator of the club, I'll be making sure we discuss these ideas and more when our club performs a strategic planning session imminently soon. Now, I have no doubt our club will certainly survive, but I don't think it will thrive without our club members stepping up where they can and increasing their engagement. And I'm taking it as a personal responsibility to do everything in my power to encourage, foster, and promote the idea over the next year. I've already had many people reach out to me offering their support, which I find very encouraging. In the spirit of the four-way test, I'll be honest. I'm busier than I've ever been. I'm 35 with a young, demanding family, running 2 businesses, one that's heavily impacted by COVID, the emotional toll it took on myself and my staff, the other heavily impacted by changing and uncertain government regulations. And I'm involved in other business networking groups and leadership capacities as well. And then there's this idea that, I want to have a semblance of a social life with other people that are near and dear to me, that also need me. And of course, I need them too. And I'm not saying this to garner pity or to foreshadow some excuse for poor performance in the future. In fact, it's actually a little bit laughably embarrassing to admit that I might be maybe just a little bit overcommitted. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in the room with a similar predicament. Far from it. And I imagine many of you can relate. But what I'm trying to say is that I will need to be heavily on our executive committee, our board, and our members at large to come together over the next year in the evolution of our club out of the COVID era and into the future. I'm very excited for this year. It's a nervous excitement, but still very excited. I'm likely to make mistakes. I'm likely to make wrong decisions. I might even ruffle a few feathers. I hope not, but it can happen when you get passionate people together, all trying to strive towards doing good. But one thing that gives me comfort is seeing how resilient our club has shown it can be. With fears of a mass exodus because of COVID or changing priorities or what have you, our club has actually fared quite well, which to me shows that we still have a tremendous amount of dedicated people in this club who still want to make a difference in the lives of the people in all the various communities we serve. My focus is on reactivating our members, re-engaging our members, evaluating what we are doing, what we should be doing, and working with the board and our committees to get consensus and create the way forward. The success of this club won't be because I had a great year or because I did anything at all, really. It will be because our members have a renewed focus and energy that will reinvigorate our club to make it better and stronger than it's ever been. It's now my honor and privilege to be the best conduit I can to make sure that these things happen, and it's a responsibility I'm not taking lightly. Again, I appreciate the confidence the club has put in me, and I thank you all very much for this opportunity to serve. I promise not to let you all down if you all promise to help me lift our club up. Thanks.
Amen.
We
Thank you.
didn't hear anything of that. Could you do your speech again?
My recorder didn't work.
Yeah, no problem, John. So now that we've got that formality out of the way, let's turn our attention to something more fun. Hold on one second. What happened to my notes? Here we are. So we'll bring Ro up, and Mauro needs no introduction at this point, am I right? A club member for over 20 years, majorly involved in multiple areas of our club and leadership such as youth exchange, the board, always a participant in our various projects, a major contributor at the district level such as RILA, just a real model Rotarian if you ask me. Everyone is champing at the bit to make travel plans and get out, and I believe today Ro is going to give us an update on what's going on in the world of travel. Yeah, let me get. You can use this. Put it full screen. Yep. Uh-oh. Yeah. Hold on a second, folks. Yeah, it's been a rough day for technology. Yeah. Start. Oh, there we go.
Working?
That'll work. Can everybody on Zoom see the presentation?
Yep.
See the suitcase.
That's what you need to say. Well, good morning, everybody. I think as you all know, for me, I've been in the travel business since 1982. And I can't believe when I think about it that next year, that's like 40 years. I'm not old enough to be in the business that long. But someone asked me just this morning how I got in the business and if I went to school. Dave Hansen was asking me if I went to school to be an agent or an advisor, as we like to be called now. And the answer is really no. I never went to a formal training other than some individual trainings. So what I did when I got involved in this business is after I graduated from college, I started working in the insurance industry. And I was living in New York City. As many of you know, I grew up in New York. And living in New York, I was commuting each day into Manhattan and working for AIG, American International Group, in their underwriting program. And was doing that fairly well in that. And then AEP announced in the early 80s that they were going to move. My husband was employed with AEP at the time and is now retired from there. But at that time, they announced they were going to be moving to Columbus, Ohio. And Mauro, who had grown up in Brooklyn, New York, was not moving to this cow town in no way. So in the early 80s, working in the insurance industry, I decided, well, we really didn't have a choice. We were going, whether I liked it or not. And so did I want to stay in insurance, or did I really want to try something that I really loved? My husband and I, you see, loved to travel. We were only married a few years. We had another friend and her husband that we loved to travel with, and we still travel with them. And so we decided that I was going to go take this class at a community college on travel. So I went to Staten Island Community College for a 12-week class on the travel business. At the end of the 12 weeks, the instructor said to me, if you ever want to get in the travel business, please let me know. So thought long and hard on it, and about 6 or 8 months later, I said, sure, let me try it. We're going to move to Ohio anyway. If I'm going to make a change, this is the time I should do it. So I contacted him and I explained him the situation, what was going on, and said, hey, I'm interested in getting involved in learning this business. So they sent me to travel school, so to speak. I learned how to use the GDS, Global Distribution System, which is the computer system we use to process airline tickets, book hotels, car rentals. And so after I completed that course, I started working full-time for this agency on Staten Island. Thank you. And that's how I started. About a year, 18 months to almost 2 years later, we moved to Ohio, and I immediately went to work for an agency down in the Upper Arlington area. That agency is no longer there, and continued to stay in the business for a short time. When the children were small, I worked part-time, and then eventually back to full-time, managing a large agency here in town in the Arlington area. Before 2001, I went up to the owner of the agency where I was managing them and said, you know, you've always told me run this agency as if it's my own business, and I have, but I think it's time I have my own business. And so I'll be leaving here in the next 30 or 60 days. I'll help you find someone or train the next person to manage, and I'm out of here. And so I left. Well, we all know what happened in September of 2001. Not the best time to be starting a travel agency. So I started working from home, thinking this was temporary. I'll do this for a year, maybe 2. Then business will be back to normal. And I'll be able to do my dream, have a storefront agency, bring back employees, and have a full service agency located here in the Columbus area. Well, it's 20 years later and I'm still working from home, and I love it. The thing I miss is not having the person over my shoulder who I can turn to and talk to and have a question, if I have a question. But over the years, I've developed a network of other agents in the community that I work with. I'm a member of ASTA, American Society of Travel Advisors. And we have a business networking group here in the Columbus area. I was president of that group a couple years ago. I'm no longer president of that group, but I'm still an active member. And those agents are the gals and the guys that I call when I do have a question of something, because frankly, we can't all know it all, right? We like to think we do, but we can't. So every once in a while, we'll do that. And we have gatherings where we'll bring in different suppliers, and so we can learn about different opportunities for travel and companies that maybe we weren't selling before. But today, long introduction, and I apologize for that. But today I really want to talk to you a little bit about some hints that I have that I share with my customers, and some of the destinations that are now opening. As you all know, it's a crazy, crazy time. Travel is harder than ever. It's always been an interesting business, and it's always been a challenging business. It's constantly changing. that this past 15 or 18 months has been the most trying of my career, and I readily admit that. So one of the things I wanted to share with you as I go through this is it's not moving. Okay. I did that. All right.
I guess we'll go that way.
All right, we'll do
Sorry.
that way. That's okay. So just a couple of hints that I tell all my customers these few things, and there's many more hints that I could provide you. And that could be a presentation in and of itself. But always, if you're traveling, especially internationally, please make copies of your documents, your license, your credit cards, your passports. Keep one copy at home or with a trusted family member and take one with you. Make sure you keep everything securely. My husband got his wallet picked when we were in Rome. It was in his front pocket, and nobody ever thought you could get your wallet picked from your front pocket. It happens. So travel with 2 credit cards. If you've got the Visa and your wife's got the MasterCard, then you're still good to go. You cancel that Visa and you just keep going on your trip. There's no interruption. You know you're safe. You can continue on. Packing, I won't get into all of that, but one of the biggest hints I like to tell people, if you're traveling with a spouse or family member, don't put all your clothing and things in one suitcase and all hers in the other. Mix and match, because when you get to your destination, if one of those suitcases doesn't show up, one of you has everything and the other has nothing. So please try to mix and match as much as you can between your suitcases. Something else that you probably have all heard about is the Real ID. You will be required to have the Real ID driver's license. So if your license doesn't have that little star up in the corner that you see, then you'll need to make sure that you get that done before the May 23rd deadline, 2023, sorry, deadline. There are some requirements that you need to have when you go to the DMV to have in order to get this license. And if you need more information on that, you can either go to the website or contact me. I'd be happy to help you with it. Many of you may be aware there are several programs that allow you, the Trusted Traveler programs that allow you to enter the country through with TSA pre-checked or enter the country more easily through Global Entry. So what those is the Global Entry program, the TSA program, Trusted Traveler program. The Global Entry program is $100 and it's valid for 5 years. So if you're coming back into the United States, if you traveled internationally, there's a shorter line for Global Entry people. So if you have the opportunity and you know you're going to be traveling over the next 5 years internationally more than a few times, it may be worthwhile for you to get the Global Entry. The TSA pre-check does not help you when you return from the country through expediting through security. TSA pre-check is only within the United States. So it would help you if you're going internationally abroad when you leave the US, but not when you return. So, and of course, that's a little bit less expensive. There are benefits to both programs and opportunities to participate them. The Global Entry does require that you do an in-person interview. So if you are interested in doing that, it's a little bit more involved, but definitely worthwhile if you plan on traveling internationally more than a few times over the next few years. A free option, which many people aren't aware of, is the mobile passport. This is kind of like Global Entry, but it's free. So if you don't want to spend the $100 and you'd like the opportunity to expedite through customs on your way back into the United States, there's only maybe 20 airports that have mobile passport, but this is a free opportunity. You download it on your phone, you enter your information, your passport details and so forth, and you get the opportunity to go through that expedited line when you return to the United States through customs. So I always like to share this one with my customers. It's a nice opportunity, I've used it myself. You can use it at some cruise ports when you get back into the US, and you can use it through many airports. So write it down if you don't already know about it. Check it out when you're traveling internationally. It's definitely worthwhile. Some things that you might want to think about when you're going through TSA and the pre-check, and the security line is the 3.4 ounce is still applicable. You have to put it in the Ziploc bag. You have to put it in the gray bin. That's not going to change. But the 12-ounce hand sanitizer is something that you're allowed to take now, and that's new since COVID. I absolutely advise you, you've all heard on the news about all of the cancellations and all of the staff shortages and what's going on right now in this crazy airline industry. Until they get back to full staff, I'm telling people, please get to the airport 2.5 to 3 hours before boarding, not before departure. Security lines are taking longer than they should. There are flight delays. And so for that reason, I'm also going to tell you to download the airport app. It'll keep you up to date. And then again, apply for the TSA PreCheck, which will get you through security a little bit quicker than those who have not. So I know what you all want to know today is, can I travel and where can I travel? So I can help you, or any travel professional can help you to decipher the ever-changing rules. I can tell you it has been, as I said earlier, it's been one of the most challenging times for me as an agent, as an advisor, in that I am not an agent who specializes in a single destination or a single location or a single type of travel, cruising, for example. I do it all. I've always done it all. That's what I love about my business, is that I can do it all. And I can do, today I'm working on 5 cruises, and tomorrow I'm working on, trips to Egypt and Australia, and every day is different. And that's what I love about the business. It changes every day. But I will share with you a little bit about the different destinations and which ones are starting to open and how you can manage all of this and how I can help you with that. So domestically within the United States, every state except Hawaii, you can travel very freely between our states, as you probably are aware. Hawaii, however, still has this safe traveler program, and they are requiring that you do a COVID test for 72 hours before the beginning of the final leg of your journey. So what does that mean? That means if you're connecting in Los Angeles for your flight to Honolulu, it's 72 hours before your flight is scheduled to depart from Los Angeles, not Columbus. Does that make sense? So that's been confusing for the most consumers, is they're thinking, they're looking it up and they see 72 hours and they think, okay, my flight leaves Columbus at 8 a.m., 72 hours. Absolutely wrong. You get to Hawaii and you did your test based on that 8 a.m. departure from Columbus, they will deny you. So they're getting better. I will say they are getting better. So just keep that in mind if you have any plans on traveling to Hawaii, at least until they lift that restriction. They've told us that when they reach the 70% vaccination rate, that they will lift that restriction. They also have restrictions for travel between the islands. Unless you live in Hawaii, if you want to travel from Oahu to Kauai or Maui, then you have to have another COVID test. So this keeps going. So they're just being a little more difficult than everybody else, but they're going to get better hopefully once they reach the next vaccination rate. Before I move on, Alaska, I wanted to touch on that just a little bit. Alaska does not have any COVID test requirements, but they do have, because of the Alaska cruise season being canceled, the issue there, for those of you who don't know, is not that you couldn't travel to Alaska. It was because many of the Alaska cruise ships stopped in Vancouver or started in Vancouver. And the issue is Canada. Canada still is not letting Americans in across our borders. They have, fingers crossed, they have announcement coming on July, I believe, 21st. Yeah, July 21st. They're supposed to make another announcement. I have customers that are booked to go in August, and we're all praying that they're going to be able to go. This is a trip that was canceled last year, and it's been rescheduled, and they don't want to have to reschedule it for another time. But the issue with Canada is until they open up release that restriction and open their border, right now, if you go into Canada, you will have to quarantine. So there's no benefit to go currently. So we're hoping that'll get lifted. You can travel freely between the United States and Mexico. Again, no requirements, no COVID tests, nothing required. Aruba, for example, is requiring a 72-hour test. So every destination is going to be different. And that's where I'm going to put a bunch of destinations that I've currently worked on. I put those in just for your information. If you're not traveling to those destinations and you have interest in information on another one, let me know. But I put Costa Rica in here specifically because you have to complete an online form before you can go. They make you purchase additional travel insurance before you can go. And it's usually a policy that is not one that we normally sell. It's there's added coverage. And that coverage is in case you should get sick while you're traveling and you have to extend your stay. It would cover the additional hotel costs, it would cover the additional, if there were hospital or medical costs. So Costa Rica is one country that is requiring that. There are a couple of others that are also requiring it. Cruising. It's different. That's really the best I can say anything to you about cruising. Ocean cruising, river cruising, doesn't matter. Every cruise line has a different rule and a different restriction. What they've all done, however, is they've all updated their procedures to ensure a clean and healthy, safe environment. They're making sure that they're sanitizing the high touch areas. They've improved their air filtration systems. They've done mandatory training for their crew and required them to be vaccinated. They are also, some of them are testing before you get on board the ship. Some of them are testing while you're on board the ship, and then again before you disembark. All I can say to you is if you're looking to cruise, especially in the next few months, that be prepared for testing and multiple testing. As I said, each cruise line has a different rule and restriction, and I can help you to decipher through those if that's your mode of vacation. God bless you. So while many countries are still closed to us, more and more are opening up. And as I said earlier, some are requiring vaccinations. Some require the completion of a health declaration form or other type of documentation. Others are requiring a negative COVID test. And then, as in the case of Costa Rica, some are requiring the proof of travel insurance. The European Union announced recently that they're going to open up to the United States. So you've got 27 countries that we can start traveling to very soon here. Italy, Greece, Spain, Portugal, for example, are all open and ready for American travelers. Iceland is open with a pre-COVID test. Italy, here are some of the restrictions that Italy has announced recently. I put that up there because that just came out on July 1st. The issue with traveling internationally right now is not even so much, what's required, bless you again, before you go in or out of the country. One of the issues is traveling between countries that we have to keep in mind. As you travel, if you're going from Spain to Portugal, for example, we just have to be mindful of what each and every country's requirements are. If you're required to have a test, if you're not required to have a test, if you have to complete a form, if you don't have to complete a form, it doesn't matter if you're coming from the United States or you're traveling between two countries. We still have to follow those same restrictions and those same rules for those countries. So we have to keep that in mind. The other thing is that as you travel to these countries, you'll find that even within the countries and the different cities, not everything is still open. So much like it was here, several months ago, as you would travel within the US, if you went out to California, for example, the restaurants were closed. We could go to restaurants here in Ohio freely. Everything was open. You could go to Florida, everything was open. But if you went to California, for example, if you wanted to have a dinner in a restaurant or lunch in a restaurant, you had to eat outside. And they had very small small capacity levels. So that's very true. That's kind of what's going on in Europe right now. So Europe is still opening, but slowly. So right now is not, in my opinion, not the ideal time to go, to be honest. If it were me and I were traveling, I'd be waiting till either late this year or 2022. Again, a couple of other countries that I've worked on recently for customers, that I've put up there just for your information. Anybody has an interest in a specific country, and I didn't list them all, obviously, world's too big. So if you're interested in anything specifically, please reach out to me. You may be aware, and you've probably heard, international travelers returning to the United States are still required to have a negative COVID test before you can return to the US. Doesn't matter if you've been vaccinated, they don't care. They don't care if you've had COVID and recovered. You are required to have this test. So while you can go freely to Mexico tomorrow, I could book you on a ticket tomorrow and take you down there. Before you can get home, you will have to have a COVID test. There are COVID tests that you can do that at the resort. The resorts, when this first came out, initially announced that they were offering them free to many of their travelers because they didn't want people canceling all of a sudden. So they suddenly announced they would do it for free. Some of the resorts are still offering that to their guests. Some are charging a small fee, maybe $50 or $100. There's also a at-home type test that you could take with you. You can buy a pack of 6 at CVS or Walgreens, take it with you. My daughter works for Abbott, so I'll give a plug to Abbott. It's their test. So you take it with you. You could do the test locally. The trick with that test, though, is you have to have Wi-Fi because you have to do it visually with the person on the screen, and they have to see you administer the test to yourself. And then the test result comes back rather quickly. And that also has to be done 72 hours before your planned return to the US. If I can leave you with anything, I would tell you, I would recommend before you plan any trip, whether it be on your own or with an agency, is to please make sure you check the country's consulate, the embassy, the CDC, check with your airline, because the constant change of restrictions is confusing for even the professionals. So if it's confusing for us, it's going to be confusing for the person who's not doing it every day. So it's more important than ever that you use the services of a travel professional. And whether it's me or someone else, I highly recommend that you do that. So planning your own travel is like baking. Similar things look and can be completely different experiences. So my job is to make a good vacation a great vacation. So whether you're scrolling through available options online or you've always booked your own travel, just remember that you don't know what you don't know. And as a person who's been in this business for 40 years, I can tell you that what I can do for you or any travel professional who has taken the time to learn and really understand this business and its ever-changing crazy rules is that what we do for you is not something you can easily do on your own. It may look like you can when you're online, but certainly it's not as simple as it appears. So work with a travel professional. Like I said, it doesn't have to be me. I know some of you have worked with agents for years or advisors for years that you've worked with, and continue to work with them if you know them and trust them. And hopefully we can all move forward and have a great travel experience in the next year or two as things start to open up more and more. I'd be happy to take any questions if anyone has any. Jim?
Are any lines requiring people to actually have vaccination?
Yes.
To repeat the question, so that you know what everybody on that.
So Jim's question was, are the cruise lines requiring their travelers to be vaccinated? And the answer to that is some are and some aren't. So yes, they are. Most of the lines that are requiring that are lines that deal strictly with adult passengers, not lines that deal with families or that have young children, since young children aren't able to be vaccinated. So it would depend upon the cruise line. And again, if you want to know a specific cruise line, I'd be happy to help you figure that out. But yeah, Jim.
Is it fair to say that the test that you have to do before is better not
So Jim's comedic question was, Is it fair? I'm not even sure I can repeat it. Is it fair to know if they test you before you leave port, will you have to know how to swim? So what some cruise lines have told us is if they find positive, and we've had a variety of results from different cruise lines, but what some cruise lines have told us is if they get positive results on their ships, that they will return to port. They won't continue this cruise. Others have, and I think I was telling somebody, maybe it was you, Jerry, yesterday, that other cruise lines have told us what they're doing is they've left capacity on the boats is less than 100%, at least currently. I don't know, and the cruise lines won't tell us exactly what the capacity is that they're limiting. We'll eventually figure it out, but right now we don't know those numbers. So for now, what they're saying is they're retaining a certain section of the boat, so to speak, of staterooms that they're leaving empty in the event they need to quarantine people. So as they will be testing, I mean, I will tell you, if you're planning on going on a cruise, prepare to be tested before you get on and probably during your journey. And then probably depending upon where you're disembarking, you may have to be tested again. So if you do test positive, it is very likely that they will quarantine you to a different stateroom on board the ship. Other questions? Dave?
Yes, I just have. You were talking about the complications of European citizens, are they?
So Dave's question was, are European citizens permitted to travel freely between countries? Because with Americans, it's not quite as simple right now. And the answer to that, frankly, is I don't know, but I don't think so. From what I've read, I believe that if EU countries are allowing them to travel between the EU countries. Now, if they're going to a non-EU country, that might be a different issue. Jennifer?
So I want to ask about the date of having the new driver's license.
Yes, the 23rd.
Travel. Yours, is it May of 2020?
May of 2023 for the new real ID driver's license is what's the new date. That has gotten pushed back. It was supposed to have been October of this year, but because of COVID, they've pushed it back.
Well, I'm asking because Bill is adamant that he needs to go get his done before October, because we are fortunate enough, Bill and I cannot wait to travel, and we trip with Ro in October that she's planned to go out west to the national parks, the Rocky Rail, and we know traveling with her that we will know all the rules. We don't have to think about it. She will let us
Thank
know.
you, Jennifer.
So we are totally excited. I don't know if she has any room left on the tour or not.
Yeah, so Jennifer's plug, thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer's plug is I'm doing a, so during COVID, when we couldn't go anywhere, I decided, well, people aren't going to be comfortable going to Europe, so I better do something here in the US. So I put together a group of, it's a Rocky Rail to the Rockies. So I've got a group, a small group actually of 12 people currently, so I have 4 seats left. We'll have our own private coach. We're going to travel on the Rocky Mountaineer Railroad through the US Rockies. It's going to be a fabulous trip. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you are interested, let me know. It's in October of this year, so we're really excited about it. But you can tell Bill, your husband, that he does not need to have his real ID before the October trip. He will be fine. But he will have to have it before the May 2023 deadline. Jerry?
What are the dates for this Rocky trip? Or should I call it a Rocky trip?
Yeah, you could call it a Rocky trip. The dates for my trip is October 14th through the 20th. And we start in Salt Lake City and we end in Denver. We spend 2 days on the rail through the Rockies in the Silverleaf Plus service, which is kind of like a business class type service with, it's a high-end trip. It's a nice luxury experience. It's not, sitting on a motor coach. I mean, we are doing some of that, but it's not quite that I wanted it to be something special. I feel we all needed something to look forward to. So it'll be a great trip. And I've personally added on a few days at the start and a couple of days at the end. You know me, I can't just go for 6 days. That's just not who I am. So, and I have, since I'm on my plugs, I might as well, I'm plugging another trip for next summer. I'm doing a group with Azamara Cruise Line, which is a small boutique luxury line to the Baltics. So we're traveling from Copenhagen to Southampton, and that'll be a 12-day journey. And we'll go into St. Petersburg, Russia, and Helsinki and Stockholm. And I'm really excited about that one. That's a part of the world that I have not had an opportunity to travel to. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And I've got a small group on that already planned. So yes.
Well, Ro, what are the dates?
That trip is June of next year. June 28th is the day we depart out of Copenhagen.
I think Connie has a question.
Connie?
Yes, going back to the federal ID, the driver's license. When
Yes.
I renewed my passport last year, I was told if you did not update that driver's license, you could still use your passport. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you do not have a real ID, driver's license done before the May deadline of 2023, you will have to use your passport to travel even domestically.
Right.
Make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
So if you want, right. Well, I had the picture up there somewhere, but yeah, so it has to have the star in the corner. But if you don't want to use your passport and fly to, visit grandma in Florida, then you need to have the driver's license with the real ID on it. Connie, Katie, sorry.
That's okay. My question is, aren't they going, like, when you have to renew your driver's license, aren't they all going to this, or?
Yes, they are, but you can opt out of that, actually. You can, if you wanted to, but there are yeah, I don't know why you would either. But if you don't want to get the real ID driver's license because you don't have the documentation, it gets real complicated when, for example, I've had a customer who's been married a couple of times, in the case of a woman specifically, where she's changed her name several times, back to her maiden name, then a new married name, and so forth. So that's where it gets real complicated for those individuals, and sometimes they have an issue with getting that documentation put together. And so they show up at the DMV and they don't have the proper documentation, so they give them the other license without the real ID star on it. And so she just decided, this one customer particularly just said, I'm just going to use my passport. So I'm like, whatever. So other questions? I know we've got time, we've got to get going. So
yeah.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ro. Very timely information. I myself am interested in traveling, and I know everybody else is too. So this is all great information. Now, we've had technical difficulties with the audio, and now it looks like we've lost video. So before this meeting deteriorates anymore, I think we should move towards adjournment. But before that, next week's meeting speaker is to be determined. Great band out of Columbus. No, I'm just kidding. We need a speaker for next week. So if you have any ideas, please reach out to Joe Patchen or George Norris or Win Wixel, the program committee. And with that, we will try to share the four-way test for everybody on Zoom. Let's see if this will work. Can everybody on Zoom see the four-way test?
Yes.
Perfect. So the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First,
Is it
the truth?
Second, is
it fair to all concerned?
Third, will it
build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth, will it be
beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you all for hanging with me today, and we are adjourned.
A great meeting. Thank you.